Here with the Mayor, Cavalier Johnson. Thank you for joining me.
Nice to see you.
I love this park, especially to me. Keon was a friend of mine, and I love what they do in this park, so that's why I chose this area, and it's right in close to the community you grew up in. I want to spend this interview kind of talking about some of the challenges Milwaukee face, some of the things you deal with, and some of the promise that the city, holds. I want to start off talking about the police chases and street takeovers. Starting with the police pursuits, as you know, sometimes they end in tragedy. Do our current police policies protect the public, or are they putting them at greater risk?
Yeah, and that's a great question. I think it's one that's on the mind of a lot of people in Milwaukee as of late, because unfortunately there have been a couple of pursuits, or a few pursuits, that have resulted in tragedy. Now, I think one of the key components of that, though, is the fact that individuals make the decision to flee from police. They make a bad decision, they make a bad choice. They are, hurting people, they've shot somebody, they've, stolen somebody's property, whatever the case may be. And the police are pursuing them because they want to take criminals off the street, because if you don't, what happens then is that they feel emboldened to go to some other neighborhood, some other person, and hurt that person. And so the police have a responsibility, and I think people want to see this generally, where those folks are taken off the street. As it relates to pursuits, I know that in the past, that policy was actually changed and halted. The problem that we saw resulting from that was the fact that reckless driving then began to explode in Milwaukee, because people thought that they could do whatever they wanted to without impunity. The police weren't going to chase me. And you saw that bleeding into other communities as well, right? And people don't necessarily know that, right? So they will think that police won't pursue in Milwaukee, and then they'll go into other communities and then be pursued by police. So even if it wasn't happening with our police department, it was still happening in our region and leading into the city and still resulting in crashes. So my thing is this, is that as difficult of a position that it is, if the police have fewer tools to be able to go after criminals and people causing mayhem or death or harm or destruction, that makes the community less safe, because then people feel that they have the ability to be able to go out and do those things and drive crazily, which causes more harm and more death and more destruction on the street.
What do you say to the families who feel the chases are costing more lives? I mean, when they say things like, just stop the chasings in general, what do you say to that?
Well, that's the delicate balance. And I, of course, feel for anybody that has lost something, has had property damage, or have had a family member that has been lost. The problem that we end up having to balance, and I want to give the police some credit here, because we see the result of some chases, but many chases the police call off because they do get dangerous, right? So there always is that balance. But the problem is, if the police are not pursuing, if the police are not taking those folks off the street, they're driving recklessly anyway, right? They're being dangerous anyhow. That's how they get in the position where they're being pursued in the first place.
Yeah, I don't know if you know, but I'm also a victim of a police chase that ended up in a bad accident. And so I understand the challenge police face. I mean, the accident I was in lasted 30 seconds before she was able to do life-threatening damage. And I don't think 30 seconds is enough to make a decision on whether, a chase should be pursued or not. I don't know how long that takes, but I understand exactly where you're coming from when it comes to that. Moving on to the street takeovers. Over Labor Day weekend, we saw dozens of street takeovers. And we talked about, you talked about criminally prosecuting some of these people. Do you think that the fines and towings are enough? And then how realistic is it that you'll be able to prosecute some of these bad actors?
I think that the ability to prosecute some of them is real. I hosted a press conference just last week with not just myself, but with the chief of police, the Milwaukee County Sheriff Office, District Attorney Kent Lovern as well, and others. And what we said was that this is serious, right? Folks making the decision to go out there and drive in the way that they are with these street takeovers, like they're disrupting people's quality of life.
Yeah.
Right? Just think about that mom, right, who has worked third shift, right? And is trying to get home and trying to get to bed, and maybe has to get up the next morning now, like to take her kid to school, who's being woken up in the middle of the night because some people take it upon themselves to go out in any intersection, any neighborhood, and drive recklessly with the street takeovers, doing donuts in the middle of the street, you know, firing off firecrackers and keeping up all this noise and whatever. Like, that's not fair to them. It's not fair to those kids, and it disrupts the quality of life in neighborhoods. So I've said that those folks need to be held accountable. The police are committed to using the tools that they have at their disposal to hold those accountable. And the district attorney, to his credit, Kent Lovern, has said that when those cases are brought for them, they're going to prosecute those folks. And I think that's a good thing. And I think that's what people across Milwaukee want to see.
I think it's a good thing too, and I think you're right. That's what Milwaukee people want to see. And you're confident that with those, you know, the players involved, the chief of police, the district attorney, that we can actually prosecute some of these people and find ways to add stricter consequences for these actions.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the street takeovers, I mean, there are hundreds and hundreds of people that are participating in them. So I'm not saying that you're going to, in one fell swoop, be able to arrest every single person, but they will be able to arrest some of those folks, and they will be able to prosecute some of those folks. And some of those folks are going to end up with a nice size citation. And some of those folks are going to end up arrested. And some of those folks are going to end up with their vehicles impounded, right? There are going to be consequences when folks make the decision. And that's ultimately what it is.
Yeah.
Folks are making the choice to be disruptive. They're making the choice to hurt everybody else's quality of life because they want to do something that is fun, but something that's also very reckless. I mean, if you saw some of those videos like I did, one of the people participating in those street takeovers got hit by one of those cars. You know, got knocked down. Like, somebody's going to end up hurt or worse yet, dead, because they're participating in these activities.
Yeah, we'll do one more lap and then we'll sit down, okay? So some people would say enforcement without alternatives pushes young people into some of these dangerous things. What investments are you making to engage youth before they hit the streets?
Oh my gosh, so the city of Milwaukee is really a resource-rich community. We really, really are. We've got the largest Boys and Girls Club Association, not just in Wisconsin, not just in Midwest, but in the United States of America, right here in Milwaukee. We've got the United Neighborhood Centers of Milwaukee, with centers literally all over the city, from the far northwest side down to the south side and everywhere in between. We've got Employ Milwaukee, the youth or the workforce development agency that pairs young people in Milwaukee from 14 to 24 with job opportunities. We've got WRTP Big Step that pairs folks with opportunities to work in the trades. We got our Camp Rise program that we started when I was mayor to connect with kids between the ages of 10 to 13 years old. Before you can even get a work permit, you can be involved in a good and quality program. We catalog basically every single program that's available, and we've been doing it for the past 3 years on the city's website in an effort that I call Hello Summer, especially before the summertime hits and kids are disengaged. So there are, and that's just like tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
So there are a number of things that are available to young people right here in Milwaukee each and every single day to keep them out of trouble, to keep them engaged in the right path, so that they don't make a poor decision and start to go down this path that potentially might lead to crime and the consequences thereof.
I agree. I always tell people there's no shortage of people in Milwaukee who care.
Absolutely.
And there's organizations and resources all over. I get parents coming to me, what should I do with my troubled young person? And I got a plethora of organizations that are working to make it better. I think we just got to highlight and support those groups so they can continue to work.
Absolutely. Look, I mean, Safe and Sound is I could go on and on and on.
Yeah.
There's so many great things. Safe and Sound's another organization. I was over at Holy Redeemer Institutional Church of God in Christ, and Pastor Valerie Daniels Carter, seeing some of the things that were happening in the community. She said, how can we help? How can we catalog, much like we do with Hello Summer? How can we catalog all the things that the faith community is doing to make an impact in the lives of people, but particularly young people across Milwaukee? So that will be coming online pretty soon here too. There's any number of things that are available in Milwaukee for young people to do
and get involved
every single year.
Yeah. I want to move on to downtown and inner city violence and policing. You've boosted the presence downtown police. There's lots of stuff that's been tried, moving food trucks, curfews, barricades. How will these measures, or how will you measure if these steps are actually working?
Well, I mean, if you look at what's happened in the entertainment district since we announced and then implemented some of the changes that I outlined in the press event that we did after some of those things were transpiring on Water Street, look at the results. It's been pretty quiet. It's been pretty quiet on Water Street. So that's how I'm measuring it. Of course, we keep an eye on what's going on to see if there's any tweaking, any adjustments that need to be made. But from what I can see, what I can tell from the reporting that I've gotten, things have been pretty quiet after we've implemented the changes.
I agree. Things have been pretty quiet, and that's kind of moving into my next questions. With the barricades, the heavy police presence, locals I've talked to, some business owners feel that Water Street kind of feels over-policed and almost like a dangerous presence is around. So tourists who come to the city, they look down the street and they see barricades, they see flashing police lights. There may not be nothing going on, but they feel like this is a dangerous area. How do you balance or rebuild trust with business owners and homeowners in that area who kind of feel like they're stuck in the middle of all this?
Well, I'd like to hear from some of those business owners who may have said that they feel that way. From the information that I get, whether it's someone in business or whether it's somebody in the neighborhoods, everybody generally says that they want to see more police presence, right? That they want to know that the police will come when they call, but they also want to see them around in the neighborhood that they happen to be in.
Yeah, I mean, I frequent Water Street a lot. I like the idea that folks can walk in the street and feel safe, but it just feels like the numbers are down. Folks aren't coming out like they used to on the weekends to enjoy it because of, not only the violence, but the police presence that makes it feel a little unsafe.
Yeah, again, I'd like to talk to some of those business owners that you're referring to, because
Let's sit down here.
Usually the folks that I interact with, generally tell me that they want to see more. They want to see more presence. Yeah.
Okay, so moving on and talking about inner city violence. Critics say downtown gets the focus on safety, and the inner city gets forgotten. Folks in the inner city feel like there's not enough policing, and downtown's the focus, downtown's the priority, and they feel forgotten. What do you say to that?
Well, that's part of the reason why I'm working so hard and have over the course of the last number of years to boost the number of police as well. Right? If you look at the city budgets that I've authored and presented to the city council over the course of the time that I've been mayor, it always calls for 3 classes, which is the most that we can produce in Milwaukee, with 65 recruits in each class, which is, again, the most that we can produce in Milwaukee. So, I'm trying to actively grow the police force in the city of Milwaukee to the requisite number that's outlined in the state law that we passed some years ago, which is 1,725 police officers in the city. And so we're taking those actions. But I think it's also important to understand that public safety is not just a policing action, right? Public safety requires everybody to be involved. So it's not just the police, it's those youth programs that we talked about earlier. It is the police, it's violence prevention efforts, it's the faith community, it's folks knowing that if they commit some sort of act of death or harm or destruction, they're going to be held accountable, right? Accountability and prevention. And then really importantly, that I think too oftentimes doesn't get discussed in these conversations around public safety, is the responsibility of families, is the responsibility of parents, right? The police can't be in every neighborhood, on every block. It's impossible, right? So we need citizens in the community to hold not just themselves, but also the people that they're responsible for accountable as well. If you look at, I don't know, these exact numbers, but if folks are concerned about, say, like homicides, right? If folks are concerned about homicides, look at the number of homicides that happen not on the street, but in a home because of domestic violence situation, which is a huge problem that we're seeing take shape in Milwaukee as well, right? The police can't be inside someone's home. So we need citizens to actually be a part of the solution here too. Another thing that I've heard over time is that people don't want to call in and report when bad things are happening. Well, in order for the police to be able to respond, you have to let them know that something's happening. And I know that people, will have concerns. They don't want to have their name out there. They don't want their name in the records or anything like that. There's a way to report things anonymously to the police, so I encourage folks to use that. And if you don't want to have any connection with police at all, but you still want to have an impact on public safety, you can always call the anonymous number at Crime Stoppers and report that information that way too.
So we need more police.
We do need more police.
And we're in this together.
And we are definitely in this together. And I think people need to understand that. Like, it cannot be just the police of and by themselves. We cannot just push, all of this to law enforcement or to elected officials. Everybody's got a role to play here. I say that constantly. Like, the community has a huge role to play in public safety. Everybody's got to be in the game, not just people that happen to have a badge on or put boots on to patrol the streets. Everybody's got to be a part of this.
I want to move on to your appointment of Adam Procell.
Sure.
I got a chance to talk to Adam one-on-one on his day one. He walked me back to the site of where he committed his crime. You appointed Adam Procell, someone who's been convicted of murder. Why bypass the finalists and take that risk?
Well, that's actually a great question, and the truth of the matter is that I didn't. We laid out a process, and I laid out a process for having the finalists go before the community with these town halls. That decision was mine, because typically when an appointment is made here, that doesn't happen. So I wanted the community to be a part of this process. And we did that. We had, a national search that happened. Nearly 100 people applied for the position, which I was, very happy to see that there was this interest. And I'm not surprised by that now, because it's been a number of years, right? So we're starting to see, this pool of individuals across the country who have the requisite skills to take on a position like this. So we had 100 or so people, apply. They went through the interview process, multiple interviews, got down to the town halls, had meetings with me and others, and I was to select the best of the three finalists when they came to me. And when I made the selection, after all of that, how could anybody have known, quite frankly, that the person selected would decide not to continue to see it through after all of that? And so, as mayor, then I'm faced with a couple of options, right? And the options are these. Given that the person selected decided not to see it through, the best of the three to run the office, I could have dug deeper into the candidate pool, and remember those roughly 100 or so people that applied for the position, which would have also been outside of the three finalists, right? I could have selected one of the other two finalists, but it's my responsibility to find, I think, the person who's the right fit for the office, and I didn't select them, right? Or I would go outside and select somebody else who I felt could do the job and would bring value to the job. And that's exactly what I did, because my desire is to find the right person for the job at the end of the day. Like, that's what I want to do, is find the right person. And I think Adam is the right person for the job.
I think that clarity of the process makes a lot of sense. And I think folks may have been confused because they don't understand the process, and some still don't. I have heard from people in the community and some city leaders that they felt you disrespected the process. What do you say to that?
I didn't. We went through the process from beginning to end. I selected who I believed to be the best of the three. That person ultimately decided to drop out the last minute. Nobody could have predicted that. I certainly didn't. I was looking forward to moving in the direction that we were, but sometimes when you're in a position like this, you've got to pivot. And that's exactly what needed to happen, and so I did.
What do you see in Adam Procell that others don't see?
Well, that's the thing, is that I don't think that people don't see it. I think that people haven't had the opportunity to see it yet.
Very true.
And so even detractors of Adam, and not detractors of Adam, that's probably poorly worded, detractors of perhaps the process that led to Adam being appointed, and so therefore it's being projected onto him. Even when they have had the opportunity to sit down with Adam and talk to Adam and meet Adam and hear about his story and what he brings with his life experience, even those folks are turned around and said, man, that guy is awesome. Man, that guy's going to do a hell of a job in this office. So I've seen that from Adam, not just in this, because who knew we were going to be here. I first got the chance to know him many years ago, well before I was mayor. And I first met him on the north side of Milwaukee, and we met, and he was doing this exercise where he was bringing individuals together who, like him, had committed crimes and were out and trying to rehabilitate, and bringing law enforcement officers together and working to get them to see each other as human beings, not as criminals, not as officers, not as law enforcement, but just as human beings, and breaking bread together over a meal, over dinner, and trying to build that sense of community. I met him years ago doing that work, and that's the same man that I think is going to do a good job in this office.
We could both agree this is a bold choice.
Yeah.
When will we know if this bold choice is going to pay off?
When will you know it's going to pay off? Well, first of all, when he goes and talks to people, as he has been doing since I named him to this office. And again, when folks get the chance to see him and talk to him and know him, they are immediately impressed by him. So I think that's already starting to happen in earnest. I think that'll continue to happen when he is settled into the office and then starts to have the opportunity to make the impact that he wants to see, and that all of us really want to see in terms of violence prevention in the city.
So folks should give him a chance to get in and do the work.
Folks should give him a chance. Folks should give him a chance. And if folks are, concerned, I hope that I created some clarity about the process and how it happened. Again, no mayor had opened this process up for the community to have input. I did. That was my choice. I made the decision to do that. And ultimately, when we got to the end of it, the person selected, the best of the finalists, decided to drop out.
Yeah.
And that's how we ended up in this situation. And sometimes you have to pivot when you're in a position like mine, and that's exactly what happened. But I'm happy with the pivot, though, because I think Adam's going to do an incredible job in the role.
Yeah, and I think that clarity will give viewers a better understanding of the process. Sometimes folks just got to understand how these things work. I want to talk a little bit about flooding, FEMA, and climate response, or response to climate shock.
Sure.
These historic floods were new for Milwaukee. We saw historic rain in hours. After it hit, I was out there, and many residents felt alone. They felt forgotten. What immediate lessons have you learned since the flooding, and how to deal with future climate shocks?
Yeah, so just recently, my staff and my administration went before the Public Works Committee of the Common Council and talked about the city's flood response. And I can tell you this, we were on it from the moment that we understood that this was going to be a historic flooding incident. I'm incredibly proud of all of our city departments, from the police department, the fire department at the outset, to the health department, working to make sure folks got the supplies they needed to clean their homes. The Department of Neighborhood Services that's been out inspecting properties to make sure that they're safe for people, for their habitation. And really for the Department of Public Works and all the divisions within the department that went out day in and day out collecting flood debris that was left on the curbside to get people's life back to normalcy. Many of these folks who work for the city, they were impacted too. Their basements were also filled up with water. And instead of addressing the concerns at their own homes, they went and worked 12, 14-hour days, many of them, put in the hours to make sure citizens could go to a self-help center and drop their stuff off, going to take extra shifts to pick up that debris out in their neighborhood. So I'm incredibly proud of the city of Milwaukee, the folks who work in my administration, about how they operated, serving the people in the city who needed it the most. I really, really am.
And I'm proud too. I saw them out there working, a lot of folks working. People from all walks of life came together to help folks in need. And it was a tough moment for Milwaukee, but it was also a proud moment to see folks helping each other. But there's still some folks without water heaters. There's still some folks who are displaced because there's so much mold in their home. What have we learned from all this? How can we do better?
Yeah, no, and I think that's a great question. I think one of the things we have learned is, again, like, how do you pivot when something like this happens, right? Milwaukee hasn't seen a storm like this, I think, since like 2010, right? So it's been a number of years since something like this has happened. We continue to learn about how we can better our response to an incident like this happening. I know that in the Department of Neighborhood Services right now, we're investigating and seeking ways in which we might be able to transform some funding sources to get out to people to address some of the things you're talking about, like their hot water heaters being out and things like that. So we're trying to make sure that we're able to pivot in a way that better serves the people in Milwaukee. You mentioned something, Gideon, though, that I think is really, really important outside of city staff that are out there, and not just city staff, but folks from other levels of government too. But citizens in this city, I mean, they really stepped up.
Yeah.
I mean, I see so many stories and heard so many stories of like teenagers, right? Strong, energetic, able-bodied, teenagers who went out there to help senior citizens in their neighborhood to get that heavy, water-soaked debris out of their household so it could get picked up by our city crews. Like, it wasn't just the city government standing up, it was Milwaukee. It was a community standing up for each other. And I was extremely proud of the city for that too.
I agree. We got notice that the president's going to be giving some aid through FEMA. You may or may not be able to answer this question, but how soon can families expect that money to hit their hands?
Yeah, so I learned about this just yesterday, as a matter of fact, not because there was an official correspondence with the city government or with me as mayor. I learned about it because the president issued a social media post. So that's not an official communication. So we don't really know exactly what that means. I'm certainly grateful for the nearly $30 million that his administration will allocate. And I say that because at the end of the day, this is not about politics. The folks in Milwaukee and Wisconsin and the region, these are American citizens who were affected, and they need support from their federal government that steps in cases like this, and quite frankly from the president. And we seem to be headed in the right direction there, and I'm happy about that. But it wasn't an official communication, so we'll see what happens from this. There's still some unanswered questions.
Yeah. Looking at the damage and the toll it took on Milwaukee, is the $30 million enough to help?
Well, that's why I say, we don't know. We don't know where we are yet. So I don't want to speculate about what it means or what it doesn't mean just on the amount that was mentioned in the president's social media post. Maybe there is more. I don't know. He's got an unconventional way of communicating, as all of us know. So maybe there's more to happen there.
Okay, hopefully. Yeah, I appreciate that, and I also was pretty proud of Milwaukeeans. It was a tough time for all of us, but to see folks stick together, I think it's going to stick with me forever. I want to talk about your leadership and vision for Milwaukee moving forward. We both came from Milwaukee Public Schools. Yeah. We both grew up in challenging zip codes, if you want to say. We've seen the struggles in Milwaukee. We've seen the challenges, but we also have both seen the promise that Milwaukee offers. What's your single most important investment the city can make to ensure young people have the opportunities that we have?
Look, if it's investing in public safety, if it's investing in jobs, if it's investing in violence prevention efforts, if it's investing in things like the new library that we just opened on Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, those are the sorts of things that I think are going to get us to the place that we need to be in the city. If it's creating programs like our Camp Rise program, which we created because I learned that kids as young as 10 years old were being recruited to steal cars. And so we wanted to create an alternative for those young people. It's things like that and having an eye on the future that's going to get the city to where it needs to go. Now, we've had a number of successes in all of those areas. It's a big city with big city challenges. And if we continue to apply the pressure that we have been, I think that Milwaukee's best days are still yet ahead. I really do.
Love that. When your time as mayor is over, what's the one thing you want people to say Cavalier Johnson changed about Milwaukee?
The thing that I consistently say that I'm going to be most proud of when I leave this office is our Camp Rise program, is the further investment in young people in Milwaukee. when I was a kid here, it's programs like the ones that I participated, the numerous programs I participated in at the YMCA that gave me purpose. They gave me an opportunity. I mean, I started in those programs when I was 14 years old, and I still to this day wear this YMCA wristband. Because it meant so much.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's why I wear the wristband, because it meant so much to me. And when we make those investments in young people, I think that when they get those positive moments in their life, it encourages them to want to continue to have more positive moments like that. So they stay on the straight and narrow, so they do better in school. And if they do better in school, they're more prepared for college, or they're more prepared for the workforce. And if they're more prepared for those things, they find success there. They come home, they're able to get a good paying family supporting job. And when they get a good paying family supporting job, what happens then is they're not moving around so much like you or I did, right? I went to 6 different elementary schools because we didn't have a lot when I was growing up. I don't want that to happen for kids in Milwaukee. So if they have stability that way, and they're not moving around so much, and they're not transient, then the neighborhoods are not porous. And if the neighborhoods are not porous, that means people get to know each other. The neighborhoods, the community begins to gel. And if the neighborhoods gel, that creates stability, and that stability leads to greater public safety, and the greater public safety leads to more investment in neighborhoods. So it's all connected. It's all connected, and that's the way that I see it, and that's what I'm working towards as mayor.
As we sit on this bench dedicated to Keon, outstanding citizen, kind of like what we all should kind of strive to be in Milwaukee, I would say. Keon gave back to this community in so many different ways, and then we sit in this community that's also faced some challenges. Some would say like forgotten, but then behind us we got a new structure coming up to kind of beautify this park. What goes through your mind?
We're not done. We're not done. I don't think of any neighborhood as forgotten. I see areas where we can constantly make improvements. I mean, I zip across this city every single day, and I talk to everybody. Right? I talk to some of the wealthiest people in the city, and I talk to some of the poorest people in the city. I go to neighborhoods on the lake, and I go to neighborhoods on 19th and Center, where I used to live, or 6th and Clark, or 33rd and Walnut, where I used to live, amongst other places. And I see people, regardless of what neighborhood they live in, who all want the same thing. They want safety, they want opportunity, they want their kids to have a good education. And those are the things I think we can build on. I see a canvas that we can constantly paint to improve Milwaukee. That's what I see. I don't see any forgotten places. I see places with promise. And I think we can accomplish so much in the city. I really, really do. That's why I feel encouraged every single day that we wake up and do this job. So yeah, there's a new gazebo that's coming here to Atkinson Park, and that's great. But this is a neighborhood that we also have made some investments in with my Adopt a Neighborhood program. So there are changes that are coming here, right? We got fire hydrants that got touched up. We got crosswalks that were repainted. There was a dilapidated home that we were able to bring down. I did, hey, how you doing? Hi. Did a neighborhood walk with folks in my administration, seeing what people care about. I got you. Seeing what people care about in this neighborhood. So there's so much opportunity, not just here, but in neighborhoods all across the city. I can't forget about those places because that's where I grew up.
Yeah.
That's where I was born, man. I can't forget about those things.
I love it. We're not done. I think that's a good message for folks outside the city who are looking in and wondering what's going on. It's like the work's being done and we're not done. There's more to go.
Yeah.
That's all I got, but is there anything on the mayor's mind that I might have missed? I mean, these are the things that I think are important, but is there anything that's important to you these days that's, kind of burning, keeping you up, or outside of what we talked about?
Yeah, I mean, I think we kind of touched on it a little bit when we talk about issues that happen in the neighborhoods. And one of the public safety things that really concerns me, and a lot of people are talking about this now because of the unfortunate murder of Charlie Kirk, but it's gun violence. It's too many people who should not, that's the key word, should not have access to guns. They can too easily get their hands on them, and they cause destruction. So whether it's Charlie Kirk being murdered at one of his events, exercising his First Amendment rights, whether it's Donald Trump, then a candidate for president, being shot at a campaign rally, whether it's kids in Uvalde, Texas, or Sandy Hook, Connecticut, who are shot, or the classroom full of kids in Milwaukee over the course of the last year who lost their lives, many of them due to gun violence, or whether it's domestic violence incidents that happen here, many times with guns in the hands of people who shouldn't have them, and people end up losing their life. We've got to do more in this state and in this country to curb gun violence. We got to do it, and not just for the sake of Milwaukee, but think about these kids who are out here playing now. These kids should be safe. I want to hear the sounds of kids playing in the park and not have to worry about some person who has a beef with somebody across the street and is willing to shoot past kids in order to get to whoever they're beefing with.
Yeah, there's lives been lost in this park because of that same reason.
So that's something I'm concerned about every day.
Changing the culture of gun violence.
Yeah.
It's a tough one, man. I worry about that as well. Growing up around guns, growing up in a violent neighborhood, seeing my first shootout when I was 6 or 7 years old, and it just stuck in my head, Yeah, it's a lot to be done. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you.